America's farming backbone is starting to crack under the pressure of a major geopolitical standoff in early 2025. The trade tensions between the US and China took a sharp and sudden turn, and the shockwaves are hitting deep in the American heartland. This all kicked off when the Trump administration slammed down a 145% tariff on Chinese imports. In response, China fired back with its own heavy blow, a 125% tariff on American exports, targeting key products like soybeans, pork, and sorghum. For years, China had been a top-tier buyer of American agricultural goods. In 2024 alone, they purchased an eye-popping $27 billion worth of U.S. crops and meat. But once the new tariffs hit, those American goods became far more expensive and far less attractive. By mid-April, U.S. soybean exports to China crashed, falling 50% in a single week. Pork shipments dropped even harder, down a massive 72%. The result? Warehouses packed with unsold goods and no buyers in sight. But the real damage went beyond dollars. Decades of trust between American farmers and global customers began to fracture. With agreements canceled and shipments stuck, U.S. agriculture was left stranded, trapped between political posturing and a collapsing market. While America's farm exports stalled, China had already shifted gears. China didn't just hit back, it pivoted. It fast-tracked a plan it was already working on, diversifying where it gets its agricultural imports. The biggest winner? Brazil. In just the first quarter of 2025, China's soybean imports from Brazil skyrocketed. They're on track to bring in 31.3 million tons in Q2 alone. But this wasn't just a quick replacement. It's a full-on overhaul of the supply chain. And here's the catch. This wasn't some last-minute decision. China has quietly been investing in Brazil's ports and infrastructure, and building long-term deals with Argentina and other big agricultural players. The trade war just gave them an excuse to hit the gas. And now, U.S. farmers are watching China drive off with new partners. The message couldn't be more obvious. Even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, there's no promise that lost market share would come back. China's shift isn't just a pause. It's more like a permanent detour in the world of global trade. What we're seeing is a clear reshuffling of alliances and supply chains. Countries like China are actively shielding themselves from future political and economic shockwaves. Meanwhile, the U.S. needs to rethink how its farming industry competes, not just with what it grows, but with how dependable and accessible it is long-term. As this global shift plays out, the consequences are anything but theoretical. The damage is hitting home, in the heart of America's countryside, in the barns, fields, and local shops. But before we dig into what comes next, if you're finding this breakdown helpful, tap that like button and subscribe to Piston Pundit, your go-to garage for all things engines, exports, and the economy. Back in the U.S., the pressure is building. As exports dry up and prices collapse, farmers are seeing their profits disappear faster than gas at a drag strip in Iowa. Take soybeans, America's agricultural backbone. Some farmers are now losing over $25 per acre. That might not sound like much, but spread across hundreds of acres, it's enough to put entire farms in park. And it's not just the farmers. The whole rural economy is feeling the strain. Equipment dealers, feed suppliers, repair services, every cog in the machine is slowing down. In some communities, the downturn has already led to job cuts and shutdowns, leaving small towns on edge. And then there's the personal impact. Beyond the charts and grain silos are families facing hard decisions. Plant a crop that might not sell, let workers go, sell off gear, or worse, sell the land itself. Washington tried offering emergency aid, but many farmers saw it as a temporary fix, like slapping a patch on a blown tire. What they're really asking for is long-term certainty, because a subsidy can't replace a steady buyer or rebuild trust overnight. With stress rising in farming communities, it didn't take long for politics to take center stage. When American farms hit trouble, Washington rushed into action. The Trump administration launched emergency aid packages, essentially financial jumper cables for struggling farmers. But critics weren't impressed. You can't fix a blown engine with duct tape. Throwing cash at the issue without fixing the root problem, a chaotic and unpredictable trade strategy, was like trying to race with a locked-up motor. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers from both parties began rallying around new laws meant to rein in the executive branch's ability to impose major tariffs on its own. Think of it like trying to install a brake on a runaway political engine. At the same time, the political landscape started to change. Farming states, long considered Republican strongholds, began showing signs of dissatisfaction as farmers raised alarms over the impact of these trade battles. It was becoming obvious. Trade wars don't just happen in international boardrooms, they show up at the voting booths too. Outside of Washington, this crisis reignited a larger national conversation about America's long-term trade direction. Calls for working with allies, opening new markets, and rebuilding trust in global trade grew louder. It was a serious jolt. American farmers needed more than just financial aid, they needed a clear and reliable strategy. And out of that moment, a new vision started forming. Building back from the ground level. Now that the dust is settling across America's farms and ranches, farmers and decision-makers are sketching out plans for a new path forward. Top priority widening export markets. Regions like Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America are becoming key targets for trade deals, helping U.S. producers move beyond the risky China or nothing mindset. Alongside this, there's a rising focus on value-added agriculture. Instead of just selling raw crops like soybeans, farmers are turning toward processed foods, plant-based products, and eco-friendly packaging to tap into new income sources. Today, speed and smart innovation matter just as much as raw machinery in the global race to stay competitive. And infrastructure, both physical and digital, is a big part of that. Better cold storage, stronger logistics, advanced tech, and blockchain tracking are being used to make American goods faster, safer, and easier to trace. Features that overseas buyers value highly. On the policy front, there's growing momentum to design a sharper, more thoughtful trade system. Instead of throwing around tariffs like blunt tools, leaders are starting to favor a more precise and strategic approach, tapping into global trade deals and smart economic diplomacy to keep our markets steady and moving forward. Now, as America's farming industry gears up again, the big question is, what comes next? The recent collapse in U.S.-China trade relations didn't just slow down exports, it completely exposed how shaky our global trade position really is. And it revealed another truth. Without a solid, well-maintained trade system, even the strongest industries can suddenly stall. But here's the upside. Crisis often brings focus. It forces us to adjust, improve, and prepare for the future. American agriculture is already stepping up, looking into new export markets, adopting smarter farming methods, and rethinking how sustainability and profit can go hand in hand. The road ahead won't be smooth, but with the right strategy, it's definitely manageable. Our agricultural engine can shift from idle and accelerate toward a more secure and innovative future. So what do you think? Can U.S. farmers win back China's market, or is it time to invest in brand new trade relationships? Are government subsidies enough, or do we need to rebuild the system from within? What should be the top priorities to keep American farming strong in this unpredictable global economy? Drop your ideas in the comments. Your perspective drives the discussion, and make sure to subscribe to 3 Daily News for straight-shooting updates on the machines, markets, and policies shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious, stay motivated. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon. Feel free to click on any of the videos now showing on your screen. There's a lot more to discover.